Beloved, listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you has the power to shift your entire understanding of relationships, destiny, and divine timing. Many people spend their whole lives searching for their soulmate, but what they don't realize is this: God never hides your soulmate from you. He prepares you for them. God has divine ways, holy strategies of connecting hearts that were written for each other before the foundation of the world. The problem is not that God hasn't sent the right person. The problem is that we often don't recognize him moving. Today I want to show you 5 sacred ways God introduces you to your soulmate so that you don't miss the person God has designed to walk through life with you. Because when God writes a love story, it isn't weak, confused, or fragile. It is intentional, powerful, and unmistakably divine. 1. God prepares your spirit before he brings the person. Before God brings you a soulmate, he prepares your spirit. He refines your character, removes unhealthy attachments, and softens the places where you were wounded. When God is preparing you for someone special, you will feel a shift within yourself. Old desires fade. New standards rise. You begin desiring peace instead of drama, truth instead of games, and prayer instead of empty promises. This spiritual maturing is one of God's clearest signs, but many overlook it because they're impatient for the relationship instead of the preparation. 2. God allows divine intersections that feel accidental but are not. One of the most beautiful ways God connects you to your soulmate is through what looks like coincidence. You meet unexpectedly. The conversation flows effortlessly. You feel a sense of recognition, as if your soul already knows this person. Divine connections don't feel forced. They feel natural, peaceful, and strangely familiar. You find yourself thinking, why does this feel so right? Because heaven arranged it long before you ever reached the moment. These are not random meetings. They are divine intersections. 3. God confirms the connection through peace, not pressure. When the person is from God, you will notice something rare: peace. Not butterflies only, not confusion, not the feeling of I must chase this so I don't lose them. God does not send people who bring chaos to your soul. He sends someone who adds clarity to your calling, strength to your spirit, and calm to your storms. If peace surrounds the connection, God is speaking. 4. God uses purpose to draw you together. Your soulmate is not just someone who attracts your heart. They align with your purpose. God doesn't raise 2 people separately only to bring them together for superficial reasons. He connects people whose destinies complement each other. Maybe you share similar dreams. Maybe you both carry a burden for the same mission. Maybe you inspire each other into greater versions of yourself. Purpose is God's language. When 2 purposes align, destinies collide. 5. God opens and closes doors to steer you toward the right person. Sometimes God leads you to your soulmate by first leading you away from people who are not meant for you. You may go through heartbreaks, disappointments, and closed doors, not because God is punishing you, but because He's preparing you for someone better, someone chosen. God often clears the path before delivering the promise. When the wrong people fall away, the right one becomes visible. When God is getting ready to introduce you to the one He has chosen for your life, He doesn't start by changing your surroundings. He starts by changing you. Long before you meet that person, long before you exchange conversations or glances, something begins happening on the inside. God begins to soften areas you didn't know were hard, heal wounds you didn't know were still bleeding, and open doors in your heart you didn't realize were locked, because God will never place a great love into an unprepared heart. He prepares the soil before He sends the seed. This preparation is not punishment. It is protection. It is the divine shaping necessary for two lives to fit together in a way that honors Him. Sometimes this preparation comes through isolation. When God wants to speak clearly, He often removes distractions quietly. You may find yourself feeling distant from people you once felt close to. You may feel your phone silent, your friendships shifting, your plans suddenly changing. You may wonder why life feels quieter than usual. It's because God is placing you in a season where He can work on you without noise interfering. He is preparing your spirit to discern His voice, so when He whispers about the one He has chosen, you recognize Him immediately. You cannot hear heaven's direction if your mind is crowded with earthly voices. Preparation requires stillness. Other times, the preparation comes through healing. God often introduces you to your soulmate only after He has closed the wounds created by counterfeits. If your heart is full of fear, doubt, mistrust, or past trauma, then the right person could appear, and you still would not recognize them. Pain blinds you. Trauma distorts your judgment. Old heartbreaks become filters that poison new beginnings. So God spends time removing the residue of those past experiences. He gently takes away the heaviness, the bitterness, the lingering disappointment. He restores your capacity to trust, to hope, to love with purity instead of fear. Because a healed heart recognizes a gift, but a wounded heart runs from it. God also prepares your heart by increasing your standards. Before He sends the right one, God teaches you what love is not. He allows you to encounter people who misuse your kindness, who take your loyalty for granted, who show you the difference between attraction and alignment. You begin to realize that consistency matters more than charm, character matters more than chemistry, and peace matters more than excitement. You begin to understand that someone who values God will also value you. You start desiring things you never prioritized before: spiritual alignment, emotional maturity, accountability, honesty, and integrity. These rising standards are not being picky. They are signs that God is elevating your expectations to match what He plans to give you. And then there is the internal growth that God orchestrates in such a gentle, almost invisible way. You start correcting yourself. You begin letting go of unhealthy habits, renewing your mindset, improving your discipline. You start working on being the person that the person you pray for will want to build with. You begin taking responsibility for your reactions, your emotional patterns, your spiritual routines. God does not just prepare you to receive love. He prepares you to be a blessing to the one He sends. He builds maturity within you so your love can be stable, not fragile. So your communication can be clear, not confusing. So your presence can be uplifting, not draining. Because divine relationships require mature hearts. Many people don't realize that this preparation also includes aligning your life with your calling. God will often require you to step into purpose before you step into partnership. If He introduced you to the one too early, you might depend on them to give you what only God can define. You might search for identity in them instead of in Him. So God leads you into purpose so you can meet your soulmate not as half a person seeking completion, but as a whole person seeking partnership. Two people walking in purpose create a union hell cannot break. And there is something else. God prepares your heart by giving you a subtle, sacred longing, not desperation, not loneliness, not impatience, but a holy desire for something that aligns with His plan. You start sensing that something is shifting, something is coming, something is being arranged behind the scenes. This is God awakening your spirit so that when He introduces you to the person, your heart says, "This feels familiar." Divine connections always carry a sense of peace, a sense of recognition, a sense of home. Finally, God prepares you by teaching you timing. He teaches you that rushing leads to regret and waiting leads to wisdom. He teaches you trust, not the trust you speak with your mouth, but the deep trust that rests in your soul. You begin to believe that God is not late. God is not forgetting you. God is not withholding anything from you. He is arranging, aligning, designing, refining. He is preparing two journeys to collide at the perfect moment, in the perfect place, in the perfect season. And when that moment comes, you will see that every delay was divine, every waiting period was sacred, and every prayer was heard. When God begins to introduce your soulmate into your life, He often allows the connection to unfold in a way that bypasses your logic and goes straight to your spirit. It's not a loud announcement, it's not fireworks, and it's not the emotional rush that fades away after a few days. Instead, it is a spiritual recognition, a knowing, a sense of alignment, a divine ease that settles into your heart long before your mind can comprehend what is happening. You may not understand why you feel drawn, why you feel peaceful, why your soul reacts to them in a way it has reacted to no one else. That's because God works first in the unseen, and your spirit often hears His whisper before your ears ever do. God knows how to orchestrate moments that look ordinary, but carry destiny within them. It may be a conversation that flows effortlessly, as if you've spoken before. It may be a moment of kindness that stays with you long after. It may be the way their presence calms you instead of confusing you. This divine connection doesn't come to create chaos. It comes to bring clarity. It doesn't stir insecurity. It brings confirmation. You don't have to chase it, force it, or beg for it, because what God sends moves toward you naturally. When God introduces your soulmate, He removes the need for performance, pretense, or pressure. You can be yourself, and that becomes enough. Sometimes God allows you to meet this person at a time when you're not looking for them at all. That's because God doesn't need your effort to align what He has ordained. He only needs your openness. You might run into them through a coincidence that wasn't really a coincidence, through a conversation that wasn't random, or through a moment that felt unscripted but was written by God long before you ever arrived there. God is not limited to your expectations. He can use unexpected places, unexpected people, and unexpected timing to bring the one He has chosen close to your path. When God is the author of a love story, He writes it with purpose. He causes the introduction to carry meaning because He is not just introducing you to a person, He is introducing you to a destiny partner, someone who will not only love you, but also strengthen you, someone who will not only walk with you, but also lift you, someone who is not intimidated by your calling, but inspired by it, someone who doesn't see your past as a problem, but sees your growth as a testimony. When God introduces your soulmate, He introduces someone who can hold your heart without dropping it and carry your dreams without crushing them. This is why you cannot settle for connections that drain you, because the connection God sends will restore you. Your soulmate will recognize you in a way others failed to. They will hear the unspoken, see the hidden, understand the silent, and value the deep parts of your soul. This type of recognition doesn't come from human wisdom. It comes from spiritual alignment. God creates this alignment long before the two of you ever meet. He prepares them in their journey while preparing you in yours. He shapes their heart while refining yours. He builds their character while strengthening your foundation. So when the introduction finally happens, it feels like two pieces of a puzzle that finally fit together. There's a peace that surrounds a connection God orchestrates. It is not rushed. It grows. It is not confusing. It clarifies. It is not heavy. It feels light. You feel safe emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You don't feel judged. You feel understood. You don't feel used. You feel valued. And something in your spirit whispers, pay attention, this is different. Because when God introduces your soulmate, the introduction may be simple, but the meaning behind it is profound. And one of the most beautiful ways God works is by aligning your paths through shared purpose. You may discover that the areas you once struggled in are areas they naturally strengthen. Where you were weak, they are strong. Where they were hurting, you carry healing. God aligns you with someone whose gifts complement your own. Even in your differences, there is harmony. Even in your uniqueness, there is unity. That's because God wasn't just creating two individuals. He was preparing two destinies that would one day unite. Sometimes God will even allow both of you to walk through similar valleys, similar storms, or similar seasons, so that when you meet, you recognize the language of each other's pain and the strength of each other's survival. You won't have to explain everything because they already understand the places you've been. God uses your journeys to shape a deeper compassion, a deeper patience, and a deeper love that becomes the foundation of your future together. When God introduces your soulmate, He introduces someone who calls out the best in you, not by pressure, but by presence. Being around them naturally inspires growth. They don't push you down, they lift you up. They don't distract you from God. They draw you closer to Him. They don't compete with your calling, they protect it. They don't fear your strength, they celebrate it. Their heart carries the same rhythm heaven placed inside yours. And that alignment is not accidental, it is divine. There comes a moment in your journey where God begins to speak to you in the most subtle, gentle, yet powerful way, through peace, not pressure, not confusion, not anxiety, but that still, unshakable calm inside your spirit. And when it comes to meeting the person God has chosen for you, your soulmate, your divine partner, this peace becomes one of the clearest signs you will ever feel. See, God does not want your heart running in circles, guessing, doubting, trying to force something that isn't aligned with His plan. God is not the author of confusion. He is the author of clarity. And when He sends the right person into your life, the atmosphere around your soul begins to shift. A God-sent person does not add unnecessary weight to your life. They lift it. They do not drain your energy. They contribute to it. They don't make you feel anxious about your worth. They reflect it back to you through the way they speak, act, and show up. Even if things are not perfect, even if you're still healing, still learning, still growing, there will be a peace that sits in your heart like a quiet whisper saying, "This is different. This is safe. This is from me." Many times people miss God's introduction because they're expecting fireworks, dramatic confirmations, or supernatural signs in the sky. But God often speaks gently because He wants you to recognize His voice, not your emotions. God wants your heart to learn the difference between excitement and peace. Excitement is what you feel when your emotions are stirred. Peace is what you feel when your spirit recognizes truth. Soulmates don't always enter your life to make your heart race. They come to make your heart rest. Deep peace is a sign that God is in the details. When you can be your true self, when you don't feel the need to impress, when conversations don't feel forced, when you can talk and also sit in silence without discomfort, that is the fingerprint of God. Peace doesn't shout, it settles you. It doesn't shake you, it strengthens you. And that is how God introduces you to someone who fits your soul. They bring harmony to places inside you that used to feel chaotic. And pay attention. The enemy can imitate feelings of excitement, but he cannot imitate peace. He can disguise temptation as passion, infatuation as connection, and attention as love. But the one thing he cannot counterfeit is the deep, unexplainable peace God places inside you when something is from him. Peace is Holy Spirit territory. Peace is God's signature. Sometimes the greatest battles people face when meeting their soulmate are not external. They are internal. They doubt themselves. They question whether they are ready. They fear that the past will repeat itself. But even in that internal noise, God sends a quiet assurance, a steady calm, a gentle confirmation that says, "Do not fear. I am in this." This peace won't erase all questions instantly. It won't remove every uncertainty in one moment, but it will outweigh your fear. It will speak louder than your doubts. It will soften the pain of past disappointments. It will make you willing to try again, to open again, to trust at a pace that your spirit can handle. God's peace is patient with your process. When the right person comes, they won't rush you. They won't pressure you. They won't manipulate your emotions or force connection, because God's introductions feel natural, not forced. They unfold, not explode. They build, not break. They grow, not drain. And with each step you take toward that person, God gives you another measure of peace, as if he's guiding you like a light in the dark, saying, "Keep walking. This is safe. This is me." People often chase after emotional highs, chemistry, and attraction, which are not wrong, but they forget that the foundation of a God-ordained relationship is spiritual peace. Chemistry can fade, looks will change, excitement comes in waves, but peace remains. Peace holds you together when storms hit. Peace strengthens you when challenges appear. Peace becomes the anchor of the relationship God has authored. So when you meet someone and suddenly your spirit feels quiet, calm, steady, even if your mind is still trying to make sense of it, that is God's way of saying, pay attention, because God introduces your soulmate through the language of peace. That peace will sit with you after every conversation. It will follow you into your prayer time. It will echo in your heart when you think about them. It will remind you that God is guiding this connection from the background. And sometimes the peace will speak even louder than the person's words. They may not be perfect. They may have flaws. They may be growing. But God will give you peace that confirms you can walk with this person. This is safe. This is purposeful. When God orchestrates the introduction, he aligns your hearts in a way that feels divinely timed. Conversations feel meaningful. Encounters feel intentional. The relationship begins to grow with grace rather than strain. And through it all, God keeps sending one message into your soul: do not fear, my hand is on this. That is how God introduces you to your soulmate, not through pressure, confusion, or instability, but through a peace that the world cannot give and the world cannot take away. My friend, if there is one truth you must carry from this message, it is this: God is deeply intentional about your heart, your life, and your future companionship. Nothing about your journey is random. Nothing about your desires is accidental. Nothing about your longing for connection, understanding, and true love is overlooked by heaven. God shaped you with purpose, and because of that, he also shapes the relationships that move you toward that purpose. Sometimes God introduces your soulmate through unexpected people, sometimes through divine timing, sometimes through seasons that feel like breaking, only to reveal blessings. Sometimes he brings someone who mirrors your heart, and sometimes he sends someone who complements your assignment, not someone who fills your emptiness, but someone who strengthens your destiny. And because God is the author of your story, he knows exactly when to bring the right person, how to bring them, and why they are meant for you. So don't panic if the journey has been long. Don't be discouraged if you've been misunderstood. Don't lose hope if you've faced disappointment. Don't settle for less just because your heart is tired. What God has ordained cannot be stolen, delayed, or replaced. The soulmate God chooses for you will not just love you. They will understand your spirit, respect your calling, honor your boundaries, nurture your growth, and walk with you toward the destiny God has penned for both of you. When God introduces you to this person, something inside you will recognize it, not from neediness, not from fear, but from peace, a peace that whispers, "This is safe, this is purposeful, this is God." Until that moment arrives, stay rooted, stay prayerful, stay patient, stay aligned, stay in the posture where God can speak, guide, and prepare you. Because the right person is not just someone to love, they are someone who will help complete the assignment heaven placed on your life. So lift your heart today. Trust God's timing. Trust His process. Trust His wisdom. Trust His protection. God knows who is for you. God knows who belongs by your side. And when the time is right, He will introduce them in a way so clear, so undeniable, so divinely aligned that you will say, "Only God could have written this." Your soulmate is not drifting in the dark. They are being shaped, guided, refined, and prepared, just like you. The hand of God is already moving, and when heaven finally brings your paths together, you will understand why you had to wait, why you had to heal, why you had to grow, and why nobody else ever worked out. Because God wasn't giving you less. He was preparing you for His best. Your story is not finished. Your heart is not forgotten. Your soulmate is on the way, and God is still writing.